Good morning, friends. It is Friday, and that means it is Q&A Friday again with Pastor Mike, and we hope you're doing great today. This morning, I have my good friend, Pastor Sudhir Mekala with me, and he is from the nation of India, and it's hard to believe that it was already 11 years ago that we served together, sharing the message and mercy of Jesus Christ with men and women and children down in the state of Andhra Pradesh. And our question that we're going to address this morning together is from a staff member of Life Change Action, and he wrote me this last week. He said, "How can I stay productive and motivated in my work?" And of course that is from a Christian perspective. So how can we as followers of Christ stay motivated and productive in our work? And I believe that there are kind of three perspective shifts that help answer that question. The motivation part is sort of an attitude shift, and the productive part is more of a practical shift. And so the first one, I think, is simply that we understand that it is Christ whom we serve. It is Christ who is our boss, not merely our earthly boss, not merely our boss on earth, but Christ that we're serving. So today or this week or next month, your boss or your supervisor or your manager in the work that you're involved in may irritate you. He may annoy you. He may be difficult, or she may be difficult to work with, or they may give you a task that seems overly demanding. And when you start to have this attitude shift against your boss on earth, your motivation can start to decline. But the Apostle Paul exhorts us in Colossians chapter 3 to remember that it's Christ whom we serve. So he wrote this, he said, "Whatever you do," and that's no matter what you are doing, "do your work heartily as for the Lord rather than for men, knowing that from the Lord you will receive the reward of the inheritance. It is the Lord Christ whom you serve. For he who does wrong will receive the consequences of the wrong which he has done, and that without partiality." And that last verse brings us back to this truth that I've mentioned before. We need to remember that in the end, God will deal with perfect justice. But right now, no matter what circumstance we're under or that we find ourselves in, we're to serve Christ. And so no matter what you are doing, it is for Jesus. He's your boss, not your boss on earth, ultimately. And then the second perspective shift, Pastor Sudhir is going to share about.
Yeah, as Pastor Michael said, like it should be an active attitude shift that is needed in order for us to function in such a way that will bring glory to God by our actions and whatever we do. And Hebrews 11:10 talks about one of the most profound statement that we see about God. It says God is the architect and the builder. It means to say that everything is orchestrated by God. Even in every situation of our life, when the places we are put into, or Lord, every event that comes in our lives, or even the workplace that we are placed into, and it is not an accident. And sometimes it is so beautiful that when you understand this, when you understand that God placed you in situations like that, it is easier to have that attitude shift where we start believing and we start thanking God in fact about every situation and every person that comes into our lives. And sometimes it could be hard working under a dominating supervisor, and you might say quit, or you might murmur about it, you might start complaining about it. But when you understand that God is the one who designed that for you, and you will have an amazing attitude, and you would I would say, like, you would bring glory to God irrespective of where you are, irrespective of under whom you work.
That's great. Yeah, thanks for sharing that. And so I really think that first attitude or perspective shift is understand it's Christ whom you're serving, not your boss on earth. Yeah. And no matter what that boss might be like, you're ultimately serving Jesus. And so you're going to work for his glory, for his honor, and with joy and enthusiasm. And then knowing that understand he's the architect, he's the designer of the situation you're in. He put you there to grow you so that you mature as a follower of Christ. And then I think there's a third perspective shift is ultimately realize that everything you do is to reveal the character of God, to glorify him, to make him known. So it says in 1 Corinthians 10:31, whether you eat or drink or whatever you do, do all to the glory of God. And that means we know God is a creative, a designing, a powerful, amazing God who has made all that we see, the birds, the deer, the cows in the back pasture. He has designed the trees and every leaf on every tree. And so God has put humankind, those made in his image, into this work to make him known, to be creative, to be designing, to build, to use the artistic and accounting ability that he's given to them for his glory. And then I think ultimately it comes down to these practical measures that we put into our lives as we walk in step with the Spirit, understanding our life purpose is to glorify God and to serve Christ, not merely just a human boss, but ultimately we want to work hard, we want to be trustworthy, we want to have good work ethic because we're doing it for God. And so I want to give you some quick recommendations to read, to look up further for study on how to work and how to be productive, because that's sort of the practical aspect. The perspective shift is an attitude change, a heart change. The productive part comes down to things that we build into our lives through self-discipline, but really that discipline is spirit-wrought. That's what God is doing in us. So there's a book by Tim Challies called Do More Better, and I wholeheartedly recommend that you check that out. I'm going to provide a link here. You'll see it in the bottom of this video. So go to his website or go to Amazon.com and look up Do More Better by Tim Challies, and he provides some great theology of work, but also he provides some great advice on just how to get your life organized, how to manage a schedule, how to oversee employees, how to maintain a good budget, all sorts of great tools like that. And then a second one is look up the Theology of Work Project, and they provide some great tools on how we stay motivated as followers of Jesus Christ in our work, seeing that everything we do fits in the economy that God has built around us, and that everything we do in our work matters to God, and it can bring glory to God if we're doing it for his glory, for his honor, and for the good of others. So take a look at that book by Tim Challies and look at the Theology of Work Project website for some further study. Thanks for listening. Thanks for the great question. And we're looking forward to more questions in the weeks ahead. So email me, submit your questions via text or WhatsApp or on Facebook, and I will answer those questions in our next Q&A Friday and the weeks following. Thanks so much, and God bless. Work for his glory.